So this afternoon, what I'd like to do is to take you through the last 4 years that I've been at NAHL. So NAHL, if you don't know, most people don't know what that is, but we're an AIM-listed group that owns 7 legal service firms. So one of them is the National Accident Helpline, but we own lawyer firms as well. In 2016, when I arrived at the business, the first thing my CEO said to me was, I'd like you to embed the values. And I don't know how many HR people are in the room. You've probably had the same question asked of you, right? And I thought, okay, what am I going to do? What actions am I going to take? So at that time in 2016, the business wasn't doing very well. We had between 70 to 100% of turnover each year, which was dramatic. We couldn't get people to come and work for us, and when they did, we paid them £1,250 each per year to stay. That was costing the business a fortune. Staff engagement, well, there wasn't staff engagement, it was staff disengagement. So I walked into a business, and at that stage, we had purpose, mission, and values. And we also had the reward gateway system. So I thought I'd walked into a business that had everything. So fast forward, and I'll give you a synopsis of, I suppose, what I'm going to talk about for 35 minutes or share with you, is 4 years later, so 2019, 3 years later, I'm not in finance. 3 years later, we're a Sunday Times top 100 employer, investors in people, gold and silver. We have engagement scores that I've never seen in a business, and I'm certainly not saying this is all down to me. So it's a transformed business. And I want to show you not what we did, so I'll share some actions that we did along the way, but really how our thinking changed. Before I start, is anybody reading Brené Brown's book, her new one? Yes, super, thank you. So this slide is my arch from being really nervous into not being nervous at all. And she said when she looked out at her audience for the first time, she saw a theatre full of C-suite suits. And her heart started pumping. And then she just said to herself, you know what, these are real people with real issues just like you. So just get up there and do your thing. And I'm feeling far less nervous because I'm really passionate about what I'm going to share with you this afternoon. So this afternoon, so 30 minutes, I'm going to devote about 10 minutes to purpose. And I'm not going to go into how you develop a purpose, but I'm just going to try and share with you our learning on each of these topics, purpose, mission, and values. Spend a lot of time on values because that's really the heartbeat of the business, and I think that's where we can have a lot of effect as HR people. So let me start with an experience from Viktor Frankl. Does anybody know who Viktor Frankl is? Okay, so Viktor Frankl was an Austrian Jewish man born in 1906. He's an American psychologist and very famous, probably one of the top 10 writers in America's top 10 book list. In World War II, he was collected because he was a Jew and put into a concentration camp or a hard labor camp. He was in 8 camps all up, one of those being Auschwitz. And in one of his books, he explains that he tells this experience where if you picture this camp, so camp, lots and lots of rectangular buildings, bitterly cold in the winter, snowing, very dark, and he said they were all sleeping on racks. So these were like parcel racks that they were sleeping on. Some of them were sick, some of them had worked really hard, they were underfed. He said it was pitch black in the middle of the night, and then suddenly all the lights went on. And the guards came in and ordered them all out and said to them, you need to line up because we're going for a march. Now we know now that those marches, we call them death marches, but they didn't know that at that time. And he said as he and his colleague were walking along, sort of, you can imagine it, right? I've tried to put a picture of ice and mud, freezing cold, your shoes don't work, you've got holes, or your shoes at all, you're undernourished, you're walking along. And he said what got him through that awful experience was focusing on his purpose to see his wife. And he said, my wife wouldn't want me to fall down. And that was the thing that even when you think about that experience, that said to me, purpose is really, really strong. If we can somehow harness the purpose of an individual purpose, individual person for work benefit or even for their own benefit, then that was a real learning. So he also talked about, in his books, he talks about the connection between purpose and why. And he said that it is built into our DNA, and I don't know about you, so some of you probably have children. I don't have children, I have 5 godsons instead. And about 2.5 to 3, they all start asking me why. So why can't I have an ice cream? Why can't I have 2? Why is it a problem that it's dripping onto your upholstery? Well, why do you need to clean it up? Everything is why, right? You've probably heard it yourself. So why is absolutely part of our DNA. So we looked as a business into why and purpose, and I'm sure you probably recognize all of these speakers on there. But I'd like to go through each one of them and just explain the learning and how we got to our understanding of purpose. So we look at Simon Sinek, the guy that's always on probably your Facebook feed. He talks about inspiring employees with the golden circle. And he said, we need to tell employees what we're making or selling, what service we're giving, how it differentiates itself from our competitors. But the biggest thing that inspires employees is why. And that's how we work as customers as well. So that was Simon Sinek. Adam Leipzig, he talks about a 25-year reunion because he went to Yale University, and he says, I went back there 25 years later, and he said, I was talking to all the people that I'd gone to university with, and he said, it was incredible because 80% of those people were unhappy and 20% were happy. And he said, the 80%, he said they were wealthy people that had had first houses, second houses, first cars, second cars, first wives, second wives. He said they had everything, powerful positions, but they weren't happy. And he said, so what was the difference between the 80 and the 20%? He said the 20% had purpose. Their lives had purpose. They had worked out their own personal purpose, and that's what made them happy. So taking those two, that suddenly said to us as a business, then personal purpose is really important, not just spreading our company purpose. Jacob Morgan, you probably know the guy that talked about the janitor from NASA. Have you heard that before? So that was Jacob Morgan. His theory was, if your work has meaning, a sense of worth and fairness, and a business can connect your personal purpose with work purpose, so there's a job we need to do in connecting the two, then suddenly you get full employee engagement. I'll jump down to the grandfather, I think I can say that now, of Stephen Covey. So 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. The second one began with the end in mind. Even back then, and I say back then, the 1990s, even back then, he knew that purpose or goal or knowing where you're heading was important. Maslow can almost feature in most presentations, but when he talks at the top of the pyramid about self-actualization, how do we get to self-actualize? Well, we need to get to self-fulfillment. We need to know where we're going. So what is the purpose or what is our why? And then the last one, Claire McCarthy, is a bit of a random one that I just stuck in there because I don't know if you've ever seen Claire McCarthy talk about giving employees turkeys. Has anybody seen that? Okay, thanks. I feel comfortable now. She talks about recognizing employees, and she says, don't just give an employee a turkey because they'll like it one year, but the next year they'll say, I don't eat turkey, I eat ham, or I'm a vegan January, or so she said, so you need to connect recognition with the employee's purpose. What we've learned from that as a business was that we need to consider our own individual purpose. And I suppose I'd like to throw it open to you. Do you know what your purpose is? Not at work, not through your business, but do you know what your purpose is? I don't need it, that's a rhetorical question. But it made us think about if as a business we're to connect an employee's purpose with our purpose, then we really need to understand what their purpose is. We need to look at our own as well. And I'm really happy to share my purpose because I've looked at this, and you can do this, right? Go onto YouTube and in about 5 minutes, and I think it's 5 questions, you can have a pretty good idea of what your purpose is. We do it through self-confidence and Gallup strengths training with our employees. We find out what their purpose is. It's not always as succinct as I've got mine, but it does give them an idea as to what their purpose is, and then we can connect it with the purpose for work or the purpose for their job. So the learning from purpose is your purpose is personal, and I'd really encourage everybody to find out what your purpose is. It's not as difficult question as you think it may be. There has to be alignment with your purpose. So we have to align an employee purpose with the business purpose. As a company, we need to keep it simple, and you'll see keep it simple keep coming up because everything needs to be kept simple for employees. And then we recruit people with a purpose that matches our company. So we know what our company purpose is, we know what we're trying to do, and we're a legal firm, a bunch of legal firms, so we're caring for people. So we recruit people with a purpose that matches or has an affinity with our purpose. That's purpose done. Let's jump on to mission. I'm only going to spend a really short amount of time, but I'm going to show you a fault that I've found in my company's mission. Because we're absolutely not perfect in any of this. We're still a work in progress. But a mission typically is what you do and for whom. And honestly, I've never been in a business that's asked its employees to tell us what the mission is. Most times it's a marketing department or a marketing agency that gives us the mission. But the learning from our mission, now I did tear this out of the annual report from last year. Our mission at the top, if I can get you just to have a quick read of that. So it says to provide exceptional service to our consumers and customers by being outstanding in everything we do. Does it say what we do? Does it say who we do it for? Sort of. It sort of does say that. Yet, a couple of months ago, I was at dinner with the Reward Gateway CEO, and he said, "What's your mission?" And I couldn't say it. Honestly, I struggled. I got embarrassed. I said, "I'm really sorry." I was trying to think of what our mission was, and I thought, if I can't say that, then how the hell is one of my employees going to be able to remember that? Mission is valuable, though, because it does create a culture. It does create a sense of belief and a sense of purpose, and it does focus energy and work. So there is absolute value in mission. But I took a lesson from Taylor Swift. So Taylor Swift, whenever I hear one of her new songs, any Taylor Swift fans? Go on, admit it. It's more than one. Whenever a new song comes on, I listen to it about 40 or 50 times, over and over, and so I can just sing it on my way home when I'm driving in my car to the radio. But if it takes me that long to learn something, 40 or 50 times, and I really want to learn it, how much longer is it going to take me to learn the company's mission? And so I think we've got it wrong. I think this is our mission up here, which is the same one, to provide exceptional service. How about trusted when it matters? Something that means something to us. We deal with any of you in the room. Anybody is our customer. And we want them to feel that we can be trusted when it matters to them. Simpler and easier. So again, with mission, keep it really simple and keep it really honest. We're a work in progress. We're trying to work on that to make sure that our employees can feel something about it. So jumping on to core values, or values. Values is the beating heart of the business. And I think if we can embed our values really well into our business, then this can make a massive difference to our business. And I believe that that's what's made a huge difference to our business. I'd like to relay an experience from Mika Korhonen from his book, The Transformative Power of Values at Work. He talks about, gives this experience of a Cherokee man that's sitting out under the stars, sort of, I was going to say outback America, but it's not really outback, is it? Sort of Midwest America. And he's an elder Cherokee man, fireplace, and he's got his grandson there. And he says to his grandson, "I've got this terrible fight within me, this terrible fight that happens all the time." And he says, "and every single human has exactly the same fight." And of course, his grandson says, "What's happening?" He says, "I've got two wolves fighting." He said, "One wolf is a wolf of ego, fear, greed." And he said, "and the other wolf is a wolf of good, hope." And he said, "Those two wolves fight." And obviously, the grandson said, "Well, which wolf wins?" And he said, "The one you feed." And I thought to myself when I read that, which wolf do I feed? Which wolf does my business feed? Which wolf does my management team feed? Because if we're trying to embed values and we're trying to be a business that is values-based, then what is our business model doing? Is it feeding wolf number 1, greed, ego, or is it wolf number 2, good and hope? So then I looked at the model of the business because I thought this has got some merit. I need to understand how our business is set up. And so I've pinched this, this diagram from John Blake. He's the Trusted Executive. Has anybody know the Trusted Executive, the book? Okay, so John Blakey, the Trusted Executive, he says, he brings this model and says this is a model of an old style business that is not sustainable. And he said, this business model, and I see this business model as feeding, I suppose, the greedy, ego-driven wolf. He said, is a business based purely on profit. So that's all the business is set up to do. And I'm not saying profit is bad, but that's all the business is set up to do. And he gives this an example of this type of business being back in the Industrial Revolution when you had sort of cotton mills in the Northwest. And those cotton mills had lots and lots of people doing one little thing, but only one person knowing the whole process. And that person, because they had the intellectual ability, also had the authority. So all of that, 2 pillars that support profit. And I thought, if that's an old style business model, does it suit our 4 values for my business? And there are 4 values. Can you be driven in a model like that? No. Because if I was just one person doing one thing as fast as I can I be driven to do it even better? No, I can't. Can I be passionate? Maybe for the first couple of days, but then can I be passionate about what I'm doing because I have no scope to do anything else? So we decided that that old business model doesn't support our values. John then goes on to show or explain that actually that old business model is breaking because of transparency and connectivity that we have in our modern days. I don't know if any of you saw what happened on the United Airlines flight of that customer being pulled off the flight. You must have seen it on your phone, right? Everybody was looked at that. It was an awful thing, but what happened was a customer, originally, the CEO said a customer that was belligerent and disruptive was removed from a flight that was overbooked. And of course, everyone sort of thought, well, you probably deserved it if you're belligerent and disruptive. Then we all saw the video, and the video was of a very calm man saying, I just want to stay in the flight because I've got a seat, and somebody dragging him up the aisle of the plane. So what John said was actually this old model where we used to believe people in authority or that had the intellectual ability is being broken because we can see actually what really happens, and that's happening more and more in companies and institutions. Luckily then, he said this is a new model, and as soon as we saw this new model of business, it said to us there's something of benefit here. So he said, instead of just having profit as your bottom line, he said, have a triple bottom line. And there's 2 different ways that you can measure or say what a bottom line is. We usually refer to profit, people, and planet because it's easy, right? Profit, people, planet, 3 Ps. And he said, because if you have a triple bottom line, your business is truly sustainable. He said the whole idea behind this, though, is to have a business with trust at its heart. Now, I don't know about you, but when you look around the world these days, in the last couple of years, then trust is a very rare commodity. And so having trust at the heart of a business, which he said was ability times integrity times benevolence, having trust at the heart of your business could make your business, or does make your business, sustainable. Now, all of that, when you put our values then underneath them, suddenly our values come to life. Can you be driven when you've got a triple bottom line that includes people? Absolutely, you can be, because it includes me. Can you be unified? Absolutely, because we're all in this together, all in the business, trying to make the business as good as possible. Can you be passionate and curious? Yes, of course you can, because you don't have to sit in your same seat. You can go different directions if you want to. You're involved, you're engaged in our business. Is it all about profit? Profit's still really important, but it's also about you as an employee, you as the customer, you as the community that we draw our employees from. So it has a really nice rounding effect. So when we adopted the new model and tried to become a trustworthy group of managers and a trustworthy business, then our values came alive. It wasn't easy though. Now, everybody says trust is an easy word to say, and it is. It's only 5 letters. And it sounds great. But trying to have trust at the heart of your business takes work. And luckily, we have a model that says this is how you can be a trusted manager. And so we teach our managers, this is how we manage. So it starts with being a consistent manager. So being consistent, so always being the same, not up and down, being predictable, reliable as a manager, being honest, making yourself vulnerable, saying when you've done something wrong, being honest to employees, being open to explaining the rationale and why you're doing something, being humble. It becomes more about your team as opposed to me. It's not the me show all the time. Evangelizing, telling your whole team and other people what your company does well. Being brave. So being brave so that you can self-sacrifice for your team. Again, it's not all about you. Being kind, so acts of kindness, being a human to another human in the workplace. And then delivering, because we have to deliver what we promise. And then the last one is coaching, which is about, I suppose, realizing people's potential. Now, all of those I know may sound just nice, right? It might just make a really nice workplace. But what we've discovered is by doing this, so we're probably in about 2.5 years of looking at these habits, we've been able to create a culture of trust. And that culture of trust has given us a lot of business benefits. So we have great collaborative working teams. We have really good cohesion. We have a safe working environment where everybody is asked for their opinion. All of that then, as a business, and if you're a business owner, these 5 things you'll want, right? Faster decision making, no politics, creative environment, a focus on work, great customer relationships, and obviously, because I'm in HR, great employee attraction and retention is really important. I'll give you an example of the 3 last managers that we employed. So we have 3 divisions. One of them is residential property. And if anybody's tried to sell or buy a home in the last year or so, it's just stopped. It's very difficult. So that business is having a really hard time. When I went out to the market to find 3 managers, senior managers for the business, I thought this is going to be a tough ask. Why come and join a company, a division of a company that is faltering because of the market? We got 3 great managers, and I said to them a couple of months after they'd started, I'm really interested in what attracted you to us as a business, why you even applied, because they were direct applications, why you came for the interviews and why you said yes to our offer. And the why you came for the interview was they looked on our website and they saw our values and trust. Because in our annual report, we have a 2-page spread on trust. And they said, that's the sort of business you want to work for. When they came for their 5 interviews each, on the 5th interview, they got a book which said, this is what we expect of our management team. Read that and decide if this is the business you want to come to. They said every single interview that we went to, all of you guys talked about was trust. Trust and your values. So we thought it must be right. So for me, being able to attract great employees and obviously retain them is incredibly important. Some tips for some things that we've learned along the way is recruit to fit your culture. So we have made some mistakes where we've recruited people, and I think of a very senior executive that we recruited that was fantastic at what that person did, but left that department in a terrible mess and was still rehabilitating them. Did a great job, but was still rehabilitating that department. So recruit to fit your culture. Your culture, which is, for us, trust and our 4 values, has to be a thread that goes through everything, whether it be not just induction and recruitment, but training, development, any type of meeting, communication. It has to constantly feature across all of those. Allow culture to permeate new employees. I am from a farming family in Australia, and we dip all our cattle. I don't mean dip an employee, but when you get an employee, they've got to feel like your culture has permeated, whether it's really comfortable all of a sudden. We have to get it into them at an early stage so that they understand how important the values are to us as a business. We encourage an environment of challenge, so we say, tell us what's wrong. For a new employee, you're in here for the first 3 months. Tell us what we're doing wrong, because sometimes we can't see it, and then never stop talking about our values and our beliefs. These are some things that we've done over the last 3 years that I believe have helped us with our employee engagement. So we recognise and award based on values. So we use the Reward Gateway platform, communication platform, and we use e-cards. Now, I have to be really honest with you. In 2016, when we started, we had the platform and e-cards weren't working. Nobody was, well, a couple of people were sending them, but it just wasn't happening. It takes effort. It's not the software that's the problem, it's us and the effort. So we had to make them valuable. So now we've got some e-cards that are based on values. We give every employee once a quarter a gift of wine, normally wine or beer or a candle or something. And we say, go and give this gift to somebody else through the system, but using our values. How did that person demonstrate the values? The biggest thing we get from that is across our business, all of our 7 businesses, everybody sees every single wow card, or sorry, hero card, and they see what it means to demonstrate our values. So constantly, even for new employees, I just say, I don't need to tell you about our values, just go on the wow wall. You'll see fantastic demonstration day after day. We don't have any probation periods. We thought a business that has trust at its heart, why do you start a marriage by saying, let's just give it a couple of months and we'll see? We need to say no. This is, I trust you and you trust me. We've interviewed you galore. We've told you what we're like. You've made this decision. We're going to start with no probation period because we trust that this is going to go ahead properly. At our management conferences, we talk about stuff like trust. We don't just discuss numbers. And we have some interesting discussions, but we're still learning how to bring trust at the heart of our business. It's an ongoing thing. We have transparent communications, again, using the platform, which is a fantastic platform because everybody now can get it on their phone and on their Surface as well, or laptop. So we communicate twice a week. We have articles coming out about values, trust, the business update. It's constant, so that our employees are constantly seeing what it means to be a values-based organisation. And then for all of our employees, our appraisals and objectives have values in. So I don't know about you, but I've come from some big corporates where the appraisals were about 4 sheets long, and there was lots of numbers and very difficult. We only have 3 questions. The first question is, what's one thing that you do really well that you should do more of? What's one thing you should change to give better customer service? And what can your manager do to make you more successful? Just 3 questions. That's all our appraisal is. The next section of our appraisal is, tell us how you've demonstrated our values. And that's a time when we can celebrate with the employee to say, thanks, you've done really well this year in demonstrating our values. The last one is really what we learned from purpose is we used to have development, just a training course that everybody could come to the same training course if they wanted to. Now we look at development based on your individual purpose. We find out what your purpose is, we find out what you're good at, and then we develop you to do that. So you're feeling ultimately comfortable and you're going to be good at what you do. So what's happened? Has it changed? Again, I say we're not perfect. We're a work in progress. But yes, we've had some great external recognition. And I know we're not an award-seeking business, but it's lovely to get this sort of stuff because it makes you feel like you're heading in the right direction. One thing I didn't mention was this is my CEO, Russell Atkinson. He was the first trusted executive for 2019 for the UK. So I was incredibly proud about that one. Internally, though, I've seen some dramatic changes. So we call our engagement survey, we call it Own It. So we've seen it at 79.9, and that's benchmarked to the Gallup 12 questions. And I think lots of you will know Gallup is, I think, sitting around 16% engagement for the UK. We're at 80, which is phenomenal. Values-based recognition cards, so those cards that fly back and forth, we've seen those take off. So 2018, 1,800, 2019, 3,700. This year we're tracking for 5,500 cards. We've only got 250 employees. So we think they're sending lots and lots of cards. For development, 77% of our employees were developed last year. That's because they wanted to be developed. We don't push people into development, but when I saw that, I couldn't believe how many had said we want to do something to make ourselves better at our jobs. 50% of our top 30 roles we now have successors for. That's over the 3-year period, and then we've got 42% filled by female, which is fantastic. Our turnover has reduced by over 40% because we're measuring 7 different businesses, and we don't pay retention bonuses anymore, so we've saved the company a bunch of money. I think one of the biggest things that, now she knows I'm showing you this photo, just in case you're worried, but I'd like to introduce, this is Mandy. So Mandy is an LSA with us in our legal service department. She just won the Employee of the Year award, where employees voted her. Now she's crying out of happiness. She's not upset. Thought I should show you that. I'll explain that to you. But that when I saw this photo, it just said to me, for all those other things that say that our values are embedded, they're all lovely, but this is the one that makes me think that it really has got into an employee's heart, which is exactly what I'm here to do. In summary, I think if you, like us, our biggest learning has been have trust at the heart of your business. It takes effort and it takes time and it takes commitment from your management team, but that's what makes your mission, your purpose, and your values come to life. Thank you.